and wherever you are, good afternoon, good evening, good morning, depending on where you are in the wider world, obviously. Today we have the pleasure here in iSports of speaking with a world-renowned man involved in sports, not only in the Trinidad and Tobago, the world, the Caribbean, you name it. This man is well known. His name, and forgive me those of you out there if I pronounce his name wrong, I'm trying my best here. He is Mr. Emmanuel Medeiros, and he is from Portugal. He's been involved with UEFA. He's been involved with FIFA. He's so extensive, and he's done so much in the sporting world that he's recognized as the founder of the European Professional Football League. He spent almost a decade at the helm of the European leagues, and two as CEO of the World League Association. He Emmanuel, as he described here, left both international umbrella bodies, in 2014 after 2 decades at the forefront of the Portuguese and international professional football to set up the ICSS Europe, currently ICSS Insight. He was the CEO of the organization between the years 2014 and 2018. He is a former FIFA committee member on club football and UEFA Professional Football Strategy Council. Emmanuel is part of the European Union's expert group on good governance in sport since its inception. A member of the Court of Arbitration for Sport, member of the Advisory Committee of the World Economic Forum. He has since now become the full-time basis at the office of the CEO of the world's largest independent, neutral, and multi-stakeholder Sport Integrity Global Coalition. It's called the Sport Integrity Global Alliance, and aka SIGA, a position for which he has been elected unanimously since January 2018. He joins us here, and just for my convenience, I would like to call you Emmanuel to make my life a lot easier. So good morning, good evening, and good afternoon, and welcome.
Good morning, brother. And of course, it's a pleasure and a privilege, and I already feel that we are kind of family, so you can call me by my first name, no problem at all.
All right.
And thanks for having me.
No, and thank you for sparing us the time here in Trinidad and Tobago. So one of the developments in this country has been recently, there's been a coach who has openly come out and stated that he has had instances where on his team, they said a football coach in Trinidad and Tobago, in one of our leagues, in the Tier 2 league in Trinidad and Tobago, has said that he openly knows he's had to leave out players because they were involved in match fixing. Now, I must premise all of this by saying that just over 4 or 5 years ago, FIFA banned 2 Trinidad and Tobago players for match fixing. That's about more than 4 or 5 years ago. So there has been some history of match fixing in football in this country. Now, I move on to what has transpired, as I said, recently. And the fact that in this country, a lot of people are still unaware of how relevant, how important match fixing is. And that is where I bring you in. And again, welcome.
Thank you. Well, indeed, I think the world witnessed the incidents that you alluded to occurring and affecting sport in Trinidad and Tobago. But I think this is just the tip of the iceberg. And it is also the confirmation that no country, no region, no sport is immune from the threat that match fixing poses. Match fixing is global. It is serious. It involves billions and often organized crime. So if we really want to tackle it properly, heads on, if we really are committed to safeguard the integrity of sport and all its constituents, the first thing, our first duty, is to acknowledge the reality and to accept that there is still a lot to be done in order to improve the way sports organizations and sport as a whole is governed and operates. This implies a huge responsibility for sports organizations as well as for governments, as governments are entrusted by the people through democratic processes with the responsibility to safeguard public interests. And of course, sport is a matter of public interest. Now, sports organizations can do a lot and do have the responsibility, but in matters of public order, they do not have the legal means, the jurisdiction, the expertise, And that's why it is crucial to have a united front that can ensure adequate, up-to-date, and robust legislation, number one. Number two, that can safeguard the integrity of those who play it, those who run it, and those who exert their activities in sport. Number three, the need to ensure a proper licensing process for betting operators in order to ensure that they are fit for purpose, that the owners, those who are behind them, have the necessary credentials, and the financial flows are clean. But there is also the need for training, education, and capacity building. And again, it's a global problem that requires a global solution. And as we have seen, sadly, no country is immune, and the vulnerability has been increasing every year. So acknowledge the problem is the first step to tackle it and to transform these adversities in opportunities for success.
In relation to that, Emmanuel, how do you, for instance, in Trinidad, there are a number of betting organizations, betting shops. I don't know if that's what you call them away, but betting shops, betting locations operating. How can we ensure that the match fixing, as you just mentioned it, most people associate match fixing with the players, meaning that the players have made bets on their teams or their opponents, or they sell games. Is it different to that? Because I understand that you're talking about getting these betting office, the betting license approved, as the case may be, to ensure that they're genuine, that they're above the board. How do we do that? Because there are so many betting organizations in this country right now.
Well, everything is interlinked. You know, everything is relevant. So we cannot see this in a fragmented way. And it's not because you don't have sports betting organizations licensed in Trinidad and Tobago that sports betting does not exist. As a matter of fact, regulating the market is the first step to avoid illegal betting and the pernicious influence of gambling syndicates that are based in other jurisdictions that operate under the radar with very poor regulatory requirements, and also facilitate what is also linked to sports betting, which is money laundering and tax evasion, and everything that affects taxpayers' life. So to have a robust regulatory framework through the legislation that determines how sports betting operators can be licensed, what are the requirements that they need to comply with, where's the money coming from, where's the money going to, that establishes thresholds for the amounts that can be bet, that ensures that sports organizations are part of the solution by promoting training, education, capacity building of their clubs, of their athletes, of their coaches, even of the physiotherapists. In a word, all those who have access to the heart of sport, and maybe in a key position to have privileged information, everyone needs to be shielded, protected, and better equipped to say no, to resist, and to report any attempt to manipulate the sporting truth. So, yes, classically, it was just, match fixing occurred with no relationship with sports betting, but now sports betting is a reality that represents a financial flow of 3 to 5 trillion US dollars a year, 80% of which is illegal betting, right? And all this is allowed because, on one hand, we continue to turn a blind eye. We continue to neglect the seriousness of the problem, denying it in many cases, in order to do the hard work that is absolutely indispensable to safeguard and to shield the integrity of sport and its competitions.
How should we go about, Emmanuel, setting up persons' bodies so that we can monitor this match fixing, this sports betting? Is that realistically possible in a country like Trinidad and Tobago? How is it done outside of Trinidad and Tobago?
Look, it is possible in Trinidad and Tobago, as it is possible and needed in Portugal or in Spain or in Germany or in the US or in Brazil, a market that has 220 million inhabitants, and currently is going through a legislative chaos, a vacuum of legislation that enables betting companies to be having massive activity, even if they are not licensed in the country.
Wow.
So we need to have a very frank conversation. We need to look ourselves in the mirror. We need to acknowledge that the existing regulatory frameworks, not just in Trinidad and Tobago, but I would dare to say at world level, are insufficient, are outdated, and are ineffective to tackle the problem, the threat, the real threat of match fixing and the organized crime that is normally associated with it. If we allow this to happen, we are also responsible for heating the heart of a sport that everyone loves. And once the reputation is tarnished, it will be very, very much difficult to recover it. So the time is for action. There are, fortunately, solutions. SIGA offers a set of solutions to ensure modern, adequate, robust legislation in terms of licensing of sports betting market, in terms of avoiding gambling addiction. Gambling addiction is a massive problem that has been ignored, and put under the carpet, but it's real and it must be addressed, right? And also, there is another component, which is the commercial viability of sports entities.
Yes.
Sports entities are responsible for having competitions, and it is on their rights that the betting companies are making money on their back. So this whole sector needs up-to-date, robust, adequate legislation, and this is a priority that I have been involved for 25 years, since the early days when nobody even know what was sports betting and had no clue of the gravity of the problems, and how bad they can get if attention is not devoted and action is not taken. But I believe that after the shock and the revelations that the press has amplified, I believe that both the government and the sporting authorities in Trinidad and Tobago, and I would even add the whole Caribbean, because this is a global problem. This is not a sporting problem. This is not even just a problem of one given country. It's a global problem. So we need to start working immediately, cooperating immediately, rolling up our sleeves to tackle the problem. We, SIGA, the Sport Integrity Global Alliance, has been side by side with the Trinidad and Tobago Olympic Committee, and I believe that Brian Lewis was extremely vocal and extremely accurate in the analysis and the warning that he has made, because this is a huge, massive problem that cannot be neglected. This would be a fatal mistake. So we reiterate our willingness and interest in cooperating with all relevant authorities, because that is why we were created for.
Before we go into more detail on that, just explain to many people who are listening right now, Emmanuel, about the difference, or if there is a difference, between match fixing and sports betting. Because a lot of people sometimes they intertwine these two sentences and they mean the same thing, or they could be different. Is there a difference between match fixing and sports betting?
Yes, and also it is important to acknowledge that not all sports betting is done in an illicit
Yes.
and unlawful manner.
Sure.
You know, and it's also fair to say that sports betting companies are quite often victims and suffer the consequences of match fixing.
Yes.
So one thing is a company that operates in a lawful, legitimate manner to offer bets. This activity, again, I repeat, must be regulated. You know, the types of bets that it can offer, the amount that can be bet, the need to have codes of conduct addressed to the players, addressed to the coaches, addressed to the whole entourage. There are a number of integrity rules that can be put in place. In addition to the training, education, and capacity building, which is the same as having your medicine on a daily basis. You don't take your medicine once a year just for cosmetic reasons. You take your medicine every day because it's a must.
Yes.
You know, it's like wearing a seatbelt. It's like wearing a seatbelt. You know, it's like taking a plane from Trinidad to Tobago, knowing that that plane complies with standards. So your safety is duly protected. So sports betting is an activity like any other that must be exerted under a legal framework. In Trinidad and Tobago's case, there is a lot to be done, and we urge the government and all relevant authorities to move this matter forward. And again, I reaffirm our total availability and interest to cooperate, as we are doing with many other countries. Secondly, match fixing
Yes.
is the deliberate, intentional act or omission that has the consequences of manipulating a sporting result or a sporting event or a sporting fact. You know, it's cheating.
Yes.
See, so they are two completely different realities.
You mentioned
you can have sports betting without match fixing.
Yes.
But you can also have match fixing without sports betting.
You mentioned
now when you combine both,
yes,
the dark side of both, then you have an explosive relationship.
You know? I know you mentioned as well, Emmanuel, about addictive betting, meaning that how there are persons involved in sports who that's addictive to gambling. Is that also an area of concern?
Absolutely, and you know, and we have witnessed more and more people coming out of the closet and acknowledging that they fell into this addiction. And it's an act of courage, but it's also the right thing to do, because not only it's the first step for these individuals to overcome that addiction, but it is also a lesson to others. No one is immune. And why this happens? This happens also because there is lack of training and education of everyone. And it is precisely for these reasons that SIGA and some of our members are putting together programs and projects and initiatives aimed to provide the knowledge and provide the tools so that gambling addiction can be prevented. And indeed it can. And we are willing to demonstrate, and we're willing to work with everyone in the Twin Islands and in the greater Caribbean region.
Would you say this is the first time you're hearing about this in the Caribbean, or you've heard besides Trinidad and Tobago? You have heard. I mean, I don't want you to name any country. You've heard it in other countries as well.
Excuse me, I didn't hear your question.
Sure. I was saying, Emmanuel, is it that Trinidad and Tobago is the first Caribbean country that you would have heard that this has happened to, or other Caribbean countries, without calling their names, you've heard this problem as well?
My friend, it would be pretty naive to think that this is only a problem that occurred in Trinidad and Tobago. I cannot emphasize with more emphatic words how serious this problem is.
Yes.
How negative it is for sport, because it undermines the essence, the soul of sport, which is the truth, which is the trust, which is the confidence. And also it hurts the economy, the legitimate economy. You know, all these incidents of corruption, of cheating, of fraud, of money laundering, of tax evasion, they hurt the legal economy, which means that they are hurting the pocket of the taxpayers, the families,
correct.
the young people who aspire to have superior education, who aspire to go to university and to have a stable job, perspective of careers. You know, investments in roads and infrastructures, in public health. You know, and this is and this fight is not just something that concerns those who live in the Twin Islands. It's not just an exclusive of those who live in a given continent. It is a civilizational priority for all of us, wherever we live, wherever we come from, and whatever is the color of our skin and the religion that we profess.
Do you feel?
And that is
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
That's okay, Emmanuel. Do you feel then that more sterner action should be taken, that this matter, this reported match fixing, should be taken on more seriously within Trinidad and Tobago?
I believe so. I believe this is a matter that cannot be ignored, cannot be underestimated, and requires priority action. Even if there is a case, that is a case too many, and we can see how this will evolve. Unless serious action is taken, unless a robust regulatory framework is put in place, unless there are codes of conduct that all athletes and coaches and teams respect, unless there is regular, permanent training, education, and capacity building, and a number of other policies that we are happy to share, unless this is done, we cannot be expecting a rosy future, because when you fight against these dark forces, and in many cases organized crime, it's not a just fight. You know, these people are not driven by anything else apart from their own ambition. And we can anticipate what the results will be. By saying this, allow me to emphasize, I am not, it is not my intent to create any drama, to launch any anathema, to finger point. I'm merely stating a problem which I have seen in my own country. I have seen how a navel-gazing attitude by the government, a certain attitude of denial by sports organizations, the clubs, the leagues, the FAs, etc., at the beginning, and I've seen how all this unfolds. So I do not want anyone to repeat the same mistakes. If we are not sharp, if we are not attentive, if we are not vigilant, then we cannot prevent all the harm and the lethal effects that match fixing brings. And because I believe in the sporting leaders, and I believe in the government and in the relevant authorities, I'm confident that we will be able together work in a coordinated fashion to put in place the solutions that are indispensable.
Emmanuel, what should Trinidad and Tobago do? Should we reach out to SIGA, Brian Lewis, to get assistance? What should we do? What's your recommendation?
Well, I think Brian was quite eloquent and quite accurate in what he said. His words carry weight, and they speak the truth. As far as SIGA is concerned, we are absolutely willing, we are ready, and we are equipped to establish a constructive dialogue and an action-orientated relationship with the relevant authorities in Trinidad and Tobago, as well as with CANOG, with the Pan American Sports Governing Body, as we are doing, for example, in Brazil which is a market of 220 million inhabitants.
Wow.
The largest, demographically speaking, the largest country in Latin America. As we are working with the United States, and in the United States, it's frustrating to see how sport neglected the dangers of an unregulated opening of the market, because in the United States, the sports organizations, they privileged the economic impact of the opening of the betting market and did not pay sufficient attention to integrity. And that is the cause of so many match fixing incidents that are happening across a series of sports, including esports.
Wow.
It's not because it's not because I didn't warn them. It's not because I didn't warn them about the dangers that a passive attitude towards sports betting would not occur. But we are working now with them, with the government, in order to minimize the impact and put in place a robust set of sport integrity measures, because, like I said, without integrity, sport does not exist.
As you go, Emmanuel, what keeps Emmanuel going so strong? More than 25 years involved in this, sometimes dangerous situations, because these persons involved in sports betting sometimes are people involved in the underworld, as you say, and in illegal activities, so lives might be in danger. What keeps you going so strong, sir?
Well, I keep asking this question to myself. This year I reached 30 years.
Wow.
It's the first time I was first elected to a football club. First time I went to elections. I was very young. I was 24, actually.
Wow. Okay.
But I cannot be in any other way. And because I have seen and I have experienced, what a passive attitude, what neglection can cause, I cannot stand still. It is my responsibility. No one is forcing me, but I feel impelled to exert a civic and responsive attitude, accepting the consequences that my actions carry. But with 30 years in senior positions, it would be unforgivable not to do it. So I do it with a sense of purpose, a sense of mission, and with the support of great people who share the passion, who share the vision, and who share the mission. And there are lots in Trinidad and Tobago. We already alluded to Brian, but I also count with the support of the current president of the TTOC, and again with Karnok and the greater Pan Am region. This is unavoidable. This is urgent, and we all must live up to our responsibilities in this historic moment. I mean, it's also and should be a priority for the media, because the media has a invaluable role to play and to form and to instigate this culture of integrity in sports and beyond. And for that, Andre, I do thank you so much for this opportunity, and remain as ever at your disposal and of the listeners of your program.
Emmanuel Medeiros, I want to thank you very much. I look forward to talking to you again, hopefully via another medium, but I certainly look forward to talking to you again. Continue to stay safe. We'll continue to monitor this, and I know your input today will have a massive impact, because we know a lot of persons listen to us, listen to this station, as the case may be, and a lot of persons in authority and otherwise as well. And so that's why it's very, very important. I agree with you totally that we have ignored, well, this is my words too. I feel that we have ignored too much in the past match fixing and sports betting at our own regret. to be if we don't take action. This is my opinion, obviously, right? So I want to thank you very much.
We should not take action as a result of a trauma,
no.
as a result of scandals or news on the first pages
Sure.
of the paper. And the future of sport should not be dictated by law enforcement or even by the media. So I appeal to everyone who runs sports organizations, who loves sports, who practice sport, to take a leading role, to have a seat at the front and to help us to direct sport to where it needs to be, and that is right at the podium. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
To all of you.
Thank you very much, and stay safe, sir. Thank you very much, and continue to be safe.